Going
Okay.
live.
Okay.
All right.
Yo, are we on? Did it switch over? I
Not
can't
yet.
Not
tell,
yet. Let me
but
try
Not
real quick.
yet.
I think it will because I pressed going live and we're 12 seconds in.
Okay.
Oh,
But
nice.
just trying to wait for YouTube to catch up.
We're good. We're live.
Oh, sweet.
Nice.
We're trying something new. Can someone mute the other YouTube page?
I think it will.
Who's watching the YouTube on their thing? Oh yeah, can you mute it so I don't get confused? But welcome everyone who's tuning in. My name is Sam. I'm one of the leaders here at Pursuit. And we've been talking about doing something like this for a long time where we felt like our team coming together to have a conversation would be beneficial and fun and just kind of give an insight look into our ministry. And finally, what pushed us to do it was a quarantine. So I'm glad for us to be able to do this in this time. And we're trying something new. We're not really sure what it's going to look like or what's going to happen. But, we saw that Zoom, you're able to stream on YouTube. So we're doing that. So how about we just go around and we introduce ourselves? And then whoever wants to go can go first.
Hey, my name is Josh. I'm just one of the leaders here at Pursuit. I guess I've been with Pursuit since the beginning. And currently I am in Sacramento, California, attending Jesus Culture School of Leadership, finishing up my time here. And then I'm excited to go back to New York and New Jersey. Yeah, nice to meet you guys.
Hey, it's Kevin. I've been with Pursuit, I think, from the beginning as well, along with Josh. But currently, I'm just working in human resources. I'm not in like seminary or anything like that. But I'm currently in New Jersey, Bergen County.
Nice. What's up, y'all? My name is Danny. I've been a part of Pursuit, the latest since 2016. That's when I got a chance to meet everyone here. And so I'm the latecomer, but it's real nice to meet you all from New York. Much love.
Yeah, awesome. I think our heart behind this, for the past week or so, I've been going on Instagram Live, just having conversations with different leaders and with each of you here. I just thought it would be fun if all of us got together and just talked and shared together. For people who are tuning in live on YouTube, feel free to leave us questions real time and we'll answer them. There's just a lag between our Zoom meeting and YouTube, but feel free to leave some questions or comments or whatever. And we just want this to be encouraging and feedback to everyone that's watching. But how's everyone doing? I think we talked about doing this before, and I feel like because of quarantine, we've actually met more as a team in a way.
That's true.
So we're meeting more through technology, but then at the same time, it makes me miss everyone too. I don't remember the last time I saw any of you guys in person except Josh, because he was in town.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that when you saw all of us?
Yeah, that might have been the last time I saw all of you guys.
We were all together at that time.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I saw any of you guys after that.
We actually made plans to catch up like the week after.
Yeah.
That's kind of when like everything went down. So
that's when
just like
social distancing became a term that we learned. Yeah.
Quickly stopped.
Yeah, so it's been a while since we all saw each other in person, but I think doing something like this and the Instagram lives have been fun for us to stay in touch and tune in. But overall, how's everyone doing? How's the quarantine been? What's like the main thing, on your heart in this season? Maybe we could just go around.
Yeah, I'll start. I'm doing pretty good. I know the team knows, but maybe I'll just get it out to the public. But for the month of March, everyone in our family was pretty much sick, starting with me. And so for about a month, we've had a wave of, the flu-like symptoms go around. And finally, everyone is nice, healthy, everyone fully recovered, thank God. But that's why I feel like, in a way, my quarantine journey is just beginning, more I feel like I'm just starting to actually dive into this. And so it's been good. One thing I'll just share real quick is one thing that's been going on during this time of quarantine is that our family's been spending so much time together. You know, we've
Yes.
been eating breakfast together, lunch together, dinner together, snacks together, and that hasn't happened in 26 years.
That's awesome.
So your whole
yeah,
your
my
entire
whole
life.
life. I've never had breakfast
Okay.
with my family
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah. Real quick, speaking of 26,
Uh-huh.
it was Danny's birthday the other day. So if you guys are
Happy birthday.
watching,
Come
Happy
on.
birthday.
leave cake emojis. I think that might mean something else, but
Oh, oh.
but leave our
We're canceled.
brother
We're canceled.
Danny happy birthday. But yeah, just wanted to get that to everyone.
Much love, much love. Thank you guys. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah. And so that was my quarantine journey thus far.
that's awesome. Josh, what's it like in California all the way on the other coast?
All the way on the other coast. I think California, LA, and San Francisco is bad, but where I'm at in Sacramento, it hasn't been too crazy. Yeah, it seems like we're maybe 2-3 weeks out from it hitting its peak over here. So everything's just been like, slow down. Everything has been closed, but it hasn't been the mass hysteria that I think you guys are facing on the East Coast and stuff like that. So it's just been slower. The leadership school I'm attending right now, it just went online for the past like 3 weeks. I got let go of my job at the coffee shop because
Okay.
there was no business coming through and stuff like that. So besides that, I just been like staying home, attending class in the morning online, and then just reading books, catching up on stuff. Yeah, definitely a lot of solitude time with God, and just spending time with His presence and just being really intentional with that, just because there is time at the moment. So yeah, it's been pretty good, and just catching up. I think like it's been pretty fun catching up with people, because like conversations have been going like 2 hours and stuff like that, just because there is the time and stuff. So
Yeah.
that's been pretty fun catching up with people.
What about
Nice.
you, Kevin?
I think for me, so I mean, luckily I'm able to work from home. So my Monday through Fridays, working remotely, 9 to 5 for the most part. And I think just like what Danny was saying, it's been like a lot of family time. And it's, good and bad. There's, good things and bad things about being around people all the time. But because I'm naturally an introvert, I'm honestly having like a good time just being by myself for a lot. But then, there's definitely difficulties. But it hasn't been anything too crazy. I think what's on my heart is like just something that's really right in front of me. And I think it's just like family. And I think it's a good time for my family to be restored. And I could imagine, everything that's happening, with everyone else going through the quarantine too.
Wow.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I mean, for me, I help out my family business in Manhattan, and it's pretty eerie being there actually sometimes, just because of how quiet and empty the city is. I mean, sitting at my desk at my office, I'm used to hearing sirens and cars and horns and people, and I don't hear anything. Like even on my floor, like people going up and down using the freight elevators and different things. So that part's a little creepy, but I think one of the thoughts I've been having is, I can't help but to feel suspicious about others. And I feel like that's one of the negative things that's happening. So even this week, we had plumbing issues at the house, and we had to get people to come work on, different things. And even that, like, when are you ever afraid like you're gonna get sick from people coming in and out of your house working, So it's just interesting, full of different challenges, but thankfully everyone's been healthy, and
Nice.
for other people that's not the case. But yeah, I mean, I think for us doing something like this, it's just kind of to show, I guess, our team dynamic in a way, and just, you know, be more personable and accessible to everyone that's watching. Um, and I would love for people to get to know us, outside of just social media or just ministry type stuff. Um, so everyone who's watching, feel free. Who knows if we'll ever do this again? This is the first ever.
Yeah.
Maybe last.
May first and the last.
Yeah, maybe the first and the last. Maybe, but But feel free to give us name suggestions. We're not married to anything. We just wanted to try it out. We've talked about it for a while, but I think in the first one, potentially last one we do, I think it'll be fun for us as a team to just do some icebreaker questions for one another. So I came up with a couple. I think this one is spiritual, but also fun. So maybe that'll be good. But it's, what book of the Bible would this person be? I'm reading off my phone, right?
That's a great question.
Yeah. So maybe we could start youngest to oldest.
So please, Sam, you first.
No, I'm in the middle. What are you talking about? I'm right in the middle. But we'll go youngest to first because it was also his birthday. So the question is, what book of the Bible would Danny be?
Daniel.
I'm curious to know too.
Damn, Daniel. Yeah.
The book of Daniel.
I'd say the book of the Bible for Danny is probably Acts. Because I'm saying that because from the past 4 years that I've gotten to know Danny, I think Danny amongst our team is definitely always on the forefront and on the edge when it comes to evangelizing. I think we can all agree on that, right? Yeah. And the way Danny goes after things in the public, just really trying to get people to encounter God, encounter the supernatural and stuff like that. It kind of reminds me of Acts in the early days where, the disciples are just going out and bringing the fire. So I say Acts.
Yeah, honestly, I think, I would have picked the book of Acts for Danny too.
Good thing I went first.
Yeah. So I'm just saying yes and amen to that. Just because I feel like Danny, like you said, I think there's a boldness that Danny has, and I feel like he lives out the book of Acts in his everyday life. So
yeah,
that's the book I would pick for Danny.
Dang.
Yeah, Acts sounds good. But I just want to echo everything that was already said, but I totally agree with all the explanations behind it. I mean, I thought of the book of Daniel just because your name is Daniel, and then I feel like in the same way, because I feel like I could totally see you just having that kind of characteristic as Daniel, just like not relenting, but I think Acts works better. So
wow. Dang. Yeah, I'm ready to call this a meeting. I'm out. I love it.
I mean, look at Danny's background. He has a map behind him.
Yeah.
He lays hands on that thing and prays. So all right, cool. What about Kevin? Who wants to go first for Kevin? What book of the Bible would Kevin be?
I have one that automatically sticks out, and it's the Gospel of John.
Okay.
I know we're staying New Testament right now, but I say that because I feel like if anyone will be known as the beloved disciple, it'd be Kevin. Someone who really loves Jesus, but at the same time, I feel like he has such an insight. Just a man of love who really cares about people. I feel like you have such a different perspective compared to maybe the average Joe. And I feel like, it's the Gospel of John for you, man.
That's good.
Peace. You want to go first or you want me to go?
It doesn't matter.
I'll go.
All right.
I would say for Kevin, I say the books of the Bible would be the Timothy epistles, 1st and 2nd Timothy, because I think out of everyone on the team, Kevin's the most pastoral, hands down. Kevin loves and honors people so well. And then I also chose
he
Timothy.
Might be the only pastoral person.
Yeah, he might legit be the only pastoral. Yeah. But that verse in the Bible where Paul says to Timothy, "Don't let anyone look down on you because of your age." I feel like that's so applicable to Kevin because I think Kevin is wise beyond his years, and I think he offers so much relational wisdom. Beyond his years, and so I just think like, man, Kevin, Timothy.
Yeah, Kevin, don't cry on the live stream now.
I know. Right? I'm trying to hold back tears right now. So.
Where's the tissue?
But I wanna pass it to him digitally through the camera, But
6 feet apart.
Yeah, I wanna jump. I think you gave me a great jump off point, Josh. when he said wisdom, because I would pick the book of Proverbs for Kevin, actually.
Mm.
Right? So I don't know if it says something about Danny that he all got Acts, but then Kevin got like pretty different books. But it's fun. But yeah, I got the book of Proverbs, just like Josh said about wisdom. I feel like Kevin really lives out honor and principles, and
Yeah.
he sticks to it. And I feel like he walks in a level of wisdom beyond his years. And I feel like because he's pastoral, because he has like a counseling edge to him, I think he is, represents the book of Proverbs. Really good.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
All right, so let's do Josh. I'll go first. Song of Solomon.
Yeah. I wanted that one for Josh.
No, but that's kind of more of a joke one. But staying within the wisdom book genre, I would pick Psalms for Josh, because I think there is a little bit of Song of Solomon edge in the book of Psalms. But then I feel like there's such a depth in the book of Psalms, and there's things for every season. There's Psalms for every situation. There's Psalms for dark seasons. There's Psalms for victories. There's Psalms for everything. And I feel like Josh's walk with God is that comprehensive and deep that I feel like that book represents Josh the best.
Wow. Thanks, Sam.
Yeah. And Song of Solomon second.
Song of Solomon.
It's so funny because I actually thought of those two books too for Josh. I mean, Song of Solomon for different reasons, but Psalms because I feel like it's one of the realist books, in the Bible. And I'm not saying the books in the Bible are fake, but like we're getting
Thanks for clarifying that. All the viewers.
Yeah, guys, we don't think the Bible is fake, all right?
Yeah.
All y'all haters out there.
Yeah, all the bloggers out there.
Yeah.
But just because I feel like Josh keeps it real. And I think like I've been with you, since college and since like your time in Africa. And I just feel like no matter what season, I think you're just real with God. And I think the way that you do it is actually so worshipful. And I think like that actually inspired me to just be, just as real with God as well. So I think Psalms for you.
Thanks, guys.
Wow, that's good. I want to say, I mean, I was gonna say this for P. Sam, but I thought of it now for you actually. But I want to say First Samuel, and mainly because when I think of Josh, I think of David. But I think a part of why I'm reminded of David and the story of David is like two things. Number one, I think your journey is so unique, bro. For those who know Josh, like I feel like his gifting and what he carries should easily be on a bigger platform, but it isn't. And Josh never craves that, And I think that's one thing I respect and love about you. But then the second thing, I feel like this might go a little deep, but you know how David, some say like he was under the new covenant even before the new covenant. That was his relationship with the Lord. I feel like for you, bro, like you're someone who can marry or bridge the gap between people who operate on their old covenant and people who operate on the new covenant. This is going deep, but kind of like the Reformed conservatives and then the Pentecostals shout your brains out, hallelujah, Shabbat, like you could really bridge those people together. And so hope that makes sense.
Receive that. I received that.
That was so deep.
It was deep.
Thanks, Danny.
I can't even fully comprehend it.
I gotta rewatch this thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back and rewatch that.
Yo, you guys gotta read the YouTube comments now. I'm just reading them right now. It is so funny. And goes, well, there goes Josh's reputation. When we're talking about Song of Solomon.
What do you mean? That helped his reputation. His wife is gonna be blessed.
So
yeah, I'm willing to climb the tree, whatever it says in Song of Solomon.
All right, let's quickly change to me before we get canceled.
Yeah. For P. Sam, I actually have two, and I think let me just explain. I think the first book that I thought of was John, because I feel like John was the disciple that just really had an intimate relationship with God. And if there's anything about P. Sam, it's his intimacy with God that I think everyone is attracted to. I think just his
Yeah.
heart towards God is like, yeah, it's just separate. It's just on
Wow.
another level.
I'm about to
And
go
I think
comment
he's-
on YouTube myself right now.
And I think
Phone and leave some
P-Sam has
comments.
said this himself, where he's like, I wish my life could be, I just go to a lake and then I just spend time with God, and I don't have to do anything else. It's just to write books and spend time with him. And I feel like that
Wow.
would have been the disciple John, just to be with the
Mm.
Lord and just to lay on his chest and just spend time with him. And then the
Mm.
second, not necessarily book, but person I thought of was also David for PCM, because I think
Mm.
David was just so raw and honest with God. And the thing with David was like, he wasn't the biggest, he wasn't the strongest or whatever, but you know, he just was so connected with the Lord. So yeah,
Thank you.
those are my
I
two for
received
So
PCM.
that.
good. That's so good. What about you, Kevin?
For me, PCM gives me I guess like old prophet vibes, but then I was looking through like the books here, but I think Nehemiah, I think that one stood out for me.
Ooh.
I think it's because I feel like PCM is the type, or I've seen this, but he just bears, I think, the burdens or kind of like the sins of like, I guess like the people in the past or people that he doesn't have to. And then I think he builds, and I think I've seen him do that, whether it's like through this ministry here at Pursuit or helping out at different other ministries. And I just feel like he just has this leadership to just build and just mobilize. So I would say Nehemiah.
Wow. Good thing this is recorded forever.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to listen to it. Yeah. That's so good. I would agree with Josh. I was actually thinking of David, and like I said before, because I think your leadership is just on another level. I mean, we know you because we've experienced your leadership style firsthand. But I think one thing that reminds me of David with you is that number one, the way you honor people is surreal. It's absolutely unreal. I think we can all mutually say we learned honor from you. And so there's that. But then I think also just David's journey to being a king, what he's gone through, his level of intimacy with the Lord. I think that reminds me, if I had to pick a single person that I know personally, I think you're easily the person that sticks out, you know, firsthand. And so I would say first, second Samuel.
Thanks, guys. I'm about to wrap this up too. And, thanks everyone for watching. This is for ourselves. This is to encourage ourselves. Well, yeah, maybe we can answer a couple questions on the YouTube. I don't know if people are.
Yeah. So
Danny's
Kim, Big Baddie. He left a lot of personal questions. Let me start off with Kevin. Kevin, how does it feel being the only one being in a relationship on the team?
Damn.
I'm offended.
Damn,
I'm
why,
offended.
why do we have to get roasted in the process though?
I'm offended, bro.
Why is shade being thrown?
Do I have to actually answer that?
I think so. I think it'd be good for people to know.
I can't wait. I can't wait till you guys.
Oh, so what are you
I
trying to
don't know.
say? You have to wait so hard? Just kidding. You're trying to say waiting is so hard? Wow, what the heck?
I've been waiting for a really long time, guys.
Yo, Kevin,
No,
let me
but-
ask you a follow-up after you answer that.
No, I mean, I think for me, just being in a relationship, I don't know. I guess there's dynamics or there's things that I can't really talk about with you guys.
Which I said we don't know.
I'm offended, man.
I mean, no, it's just not applicable presently because of your, holy devotion to singlehood, my choice. And it just makes me excited, I guess, just to be able to express like experience that like all together. But
That's a good answer. Let
what's
me
your
ask you a
follow-up?
follow-up.
Yeah,
And this is truthfully.
I'm scared.
Who do you think would be in a relationship next if you had to choose one person?
If I had to
Who
choose
asked
one
that
person,
Danny King.
Oh shoot.
Actually, my gut says PSAM.
Come on, Jesus. We agree.
Yeah, let me go on the
Let's
YouTube
go.
and put some
on, Lord.
hand up emojis right now. I'm about to go
Come
on
on.
YouTube on my phone right now.
Yeah.
Leave some
Father, we
comments
thank
real
you.
time.
We thank you that is a prophetic word.
Yeah, I'm about to
Thank you,
put some
Father.
hand up emojis. Can you like comments on YouTube? I don't even know, but if you
I don't know.
can, go like it so I know you're praying for me.
You can report or block them.
Oh man. Let me ask another question from Big Batty. Let's go with Sam. What's your vision of success for this group?
My vision of
That's a good question.
success. Wow, that's a good one. I think for me, when I think of success, you know, I think it has to look like faithfulness to the Lord. I pulled up my Bible, so I want to read a verse, right? If I can
Shoot, should I
find
go
it.
get my Bible?
No, I thought you had it memorized. No,
Oh shoot.
just kidding. Let me see. I grabbed it because it was right by my bed here. Live streaming from my room. Maybe it'll take too long for me to go find it. But it's basically saying in the book of Acts, when it's describing King David, that, you know, after he fulfilled the purposes of his generation, you know, he went to sleep. You know, to me, I feel like that would be success, is that we served God's purposes faithfully for our generation.
Wow.
Now, we're not sure what that purpose might look like or what that would entail, but I think it's faithfulness to obey and serve the purposes he has for us. So whether that looks like quote unquote success to the eyes of man, or whether that means our influence grows or our platform grows, you know, I think those are all secondary. But I would say it's ultimate faithfulness and obedience to God's purpose for us. And I think of that passage in the book of Acts when David fulfilled the purposes of his generation. I would want that to be said of pursuit, that we served God's purpose for our generation, and then we went to sleep.
Man.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Let's see.
And should we answer more questions? Are there more, or?
There's some more from Big Batty, but I was wondering if you had more questions that you wanted to ask.
Yeah, I mean, I think since, you know, we're trying to invite people into our team and stuff like that, I think it'll be fun if we all kind of share how everyone became a part of Pursuit, or like how you guys joined.
Yeah.
I think it would be fun.
Well, maybe PCM, we could start off with, how did you start Pursuit?
Yeah. So yeah, I think for me, you know, if I'm honest, I never had a desire to start my own thing. You know, like, you know, I got saved when I was 17. I grew up going to church, but God radically changed my life, and I was exposed to revival. I saw people get out of wheelchairs. I saw the supernatural. I saw miracles. I saw all these different things, and I wanted to be used by God. I wanted to serve God. I knew God called me when I was in high school, but I never had a desire necessarily to do my own thing. I never thought I would be like the main leader of anything. I just wanted to be like an itinerant speaker, to be honest. That was like my first ministry dream at 17. Long story short, I was in this ministry position, I guess would be the word. Yeah, I was in this ministry situation, and if I'm honest, it was the worst ministry experience of my life. Like, it was just really bad. Without going into details, long story short, the church asked me to leave, and it was just so whack. And you know, I felt really confused. I felt broken. I felt like maybe I wasn't called to begin with, and different things like that. I went to this conference. I'm trying to give an abridged version of this thing. I went to this conference, and it was like a icebreaker roundtable. I met this guy who was talking about his son in California who was, you know, doing services for young adults. And I was like, oh, I feel like I could do something like that. It didn't feel like God. It didn't feel like it was supernatural or anything like that. It was just like a light bulb went off. I found out that I knew that guy's son, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. At that point, I'm transitioning to a different church in Queens, um, because I signed a contract with the denomination and whatever, and they wanted me to continue it there. And while I was meeting with my pastor there, he asked me, to think about what I wanted to do, when I joined staff there. So I thought about it. I wasn't sure. Leading up to my last Sunday at my previous ministry experience, I went to Resting Place, House of Prayer, shout out to them. And I just went like, I hadn't been there in a long time, but I was just feeling confused. I was feeling lost. I was feeling broken, all these different things. And I randomly landed on Psalm 38, verse 9. Now, I know I've read it like many times before, but yet it was as if I was reading it for the first time. I think you guys know what I mean by that. And as I was reading it, it said, all my longings lie open before you, and my sighing isn't hidden from your sight. And I was just like, God, that's me tonight. Like, I don't know what to pray. I don't know what to say, but I'm just trusting that you see the longings of my heart and that you hear my sighs. And I just meditated on that verse the entire night. And as I was wrapping up, one of the leaders, grabs the mic in the front. I'm sitting all the way in the back. And he says, Sam, can you stand? We feel like God is highlighting you. So I'm like, all right, whatever. I just stood up. And the first thing he says to me is, God wants you to know that he's seen the longings of your heart. And then he goes on to start saying, like, you're in a place of transition. God has kept you hidden, but now he's preparing you to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And, that was such a big, a hope booster for me because I felt so lost in that moment. But it just reminded me that God was just setting me up for whatever was next. I go meet my pastor that I'm about to transition to, and to discuss what I'm going to do next in that ministry setting. Shout out to Pastor Sam Park. He said, Sam, what do you want to do when you come be a part? And I was like, hey, I'll do whatever you want me to do. I'll do whatever I can to serve you and make your load lighter, whatever I can to do that. And he says, Sam, that's the last thing I want you to do.
Wow.
I want you to dream, and I want you to dream big. So he says, what are you dreaming? And as soon as he asked me that, because I wasn't thinking in that direction, right? I'm just trying to go serve. I'm trying to go low. I'm trying to help make things easier. And then when he asked me, what am I dreaming? All those seeds of revival that had been sown into me when I was 17 just started coming forth. So I never thought about starting something on my own. I wasn't thinking about birthing a new ministry, but I felt like when God gave me the green light from heaven to go after the things he had already sown into me, the seeds of faith, the seeds of revival, when God's time came, I felt like quickly. So the thing for revival, what we're trying to go after, like everything came so quickly and easily because I felt like it was divinely set up. That's when, we just started dreaming and going after it. And then that's when I called Josh, and maybe Josh could continue with the story because that's how he got to be a part of it.
Yeah. So my journey, I met PSAM back in 2010, and it just naturally became just a relationship. And PSAM would just hit me up, and we would just grab like brunch together and whatnot. And man, finding PSAM was like finding your tribe, because all the things that I've longed for when I used to read the Bible or when I would look at the Bible and history, it's like PSAM was speaking the exact same language about revival, that, that church wasn't just a moralistic or a religious thing that we go through, but it's bigger than that. It's like there's this thing that we're trying to accomplish, bringing heaven onto earth. And so, we just kept the relationship with that. And he has always made me yearn for a church or yearn for a ministry or something like that. And for me personally, I was at Rutgers doing my pharmacy program. Shout out to all the pharmacy people out there. And I was just having a really rough time. I was just trying to figure out my own personal calling. And it was just crazy because at that moment, I think God gave me a calling to go into ministry around my junior year of college. And then for the next year and a half, I was helping out my home church. And the situation was that I was just doing like everything and anything. And I was just overextending myself, burned out. I think PSM will remember, like I was just like really burned out and just like, I did not know what I wanted to do. And then at that point, I was thinking about leaving my church because I realized like it was not doing any good for my own like help for my own soul, for my own spirituality. And then P Sam hits me up one day. He's like, hey, let's go hang out. And I think it was like an Edgewater. Yeah, we're at Edgewater near the the waterfront where like couples go and hang out and stuff like that. But it was just me, P Sam, and another guy. And P Sam just started sharing his dream, and he was just sharing how like, man, I really want to go after revival. And he just started like putting this dream into place. And it was just so funny because he was in this really broken spot, and I was just really coming out of this broken spot as well. And so yeah, and then he was like, hey, let's think about it, let's pray about it, let's go after it. And then I believe, well, when was it, PSM? December of 2013, we had our first pre-launch service. Yeah. And so PSM was like, hey, let's just go for it. Let's just have a first gathering, see how it goes. So I think on December 2013, at Queens, we just did our first pre-launch service. And maybe about like 60 people came out, and yeah, and I think that's how it began.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, that Edgewater moment, I mean, I call it our cave of Adullam. If you look in the story of David, right, going back to David, Danny said, I was like David, Josh is like David. So, the cave of David is where David went when he was on the run as a fugitive in brokenness. And that's when he met all these other broken people who were on the run as well. But then those broken people became the mighty men of David. So we just felt like we just called it that then, but I feel like it was more prophetic than we thought. But
oh, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. That was one of the most broken moments of my life.
for all of us. And then from there, Josh joined, and then Josh invited Kevin to that event. And then Kevin, you can talk about your whole journey too.
Yeah, so I guess earlier that summer, I think that's probably when I met P Sam, because me and Josh were serving at a retreat together, at KCC retreat. And then I honestly don't really remember too much, except for the fact that whenever P Sam was preaching, I just felt like, even though he was preaching to the youth group, like I was getting ministered to more than like the kids that I was leading. And I was like, oh my God, like this guy is the real deal. And I remember he prayed for my color blindness to go away. I mean, it didn't, like nothing happened, but like
you're still colorblind today.
Yeah, still colorblind. But then I think I was just so like touched and so moved, and I think that's just when our relationship kind of like started. But then me and Josh, we were close. I guess like because we were living together at that point. So 2013, I just remember being at the pre-launch just to attend. And I remember like, I think James Lee was leading worship, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I remember I was just like there just taking pictures, like, I don't know, of worship and stuff like that. But that's all I pretty much remember. But I think when I got more involved was probably when, when Josh went to Africa. And I think that's around the time where, P. Sam used to take Josh around to retreats. And Josh was like, hey, P. Sam, if you need someone to keep you company, just to go to retreats and things like that, like you should totally take Kevin along. And then I think that's when our relationship like really just started going deeper. The first time we hung out was at Hoagie Haven.
Yeah.
And
why don't you talk about like, or Josh, you could add to this too about Pursuit New Brunswick, because I think that was kind of like the turning point in terms of your involvement, Kevin. Like,
Oh yeah, so I mean, Pursuit New Brunswick, I still say to this day it was like the best week of my life, just because it was like so fun. And I think it just was I think what Christianity should really look like. Like I think we were trained and we were taught to on just like how to pray for people, how to approach people, and why we approach people. And we were feeding the homeless. We were meeting them and praying for them and just trying to build relationship, and at the same time just trying to see in what ways we could help out. But I think that around that time was when PCM came for to train us, to teach us on the Holy Spirit. And I think that was one of the first like introductions that I really had. So I guess like the way that I view ministry and Christianity today. Yeah, Josh, you have anything more to add? New
Oh
Brunswick?
yeah, I mean, for all the viewers who do not know what Pursuit New Brunswick is, it was during Rutgers spring break. You know, we just gathered like about 15 other college students who wanted to serve during their spring break rather than go, you know, Cancun or whatever, and they just wanted to serve the city of New Brunswick. And so for an entire week, we fed the homeless. We just went out and just started praying for people. We started tutoring low-income city kids and stuff like that. So that's how Kevin got involved, because like Kevin was really helping me out at the time. Yeah, and then that's how he got to know PCM better as well.
Yeah. Cool. Danny, you wanna share how you came on board?
So I'll make this quick, but for me in 2012, November 2012 was the first time I ever heard about revival, and I would say it's the first time where I think God started to burn revival in my heart. And at that time, revival wasn't a hot word like it is now, and so I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to proceed, but I went to a school up in Massachusetts called Gordon College, a Christian school. And unfortunately, after a while, I couldn't afford it anymore, so they kicked me out. And when it came back down in 2015, I just knew that I had to find a mentor figure. Like, I just knew it, or else I was going to either number one, backslide, or number two, just grow really bitter towards everyone, you know? And so I was trying to find out who I should ask. I was praying. And one of the people from my church, shout out to Liz Kim, she said, she started talking about Pursuit. And she started talking about Pastor Sam, and she started talking about revival. And I was like, oh man, I have to get connected. And I heard about Pastor Sam from some of the other people in my life, my younger sister, some other friends. And so I reached out to him on Facebook one day. I was like, yo, Pastor Sam, we've never met, but I would love to meet you because I want to hear about your story. And I was hungry, you know, or desperate or whatever. But we reached out. I reached out to him. We got a chance to meet up. He started telling me about Pursuit. And that was the first time I've ever heard someone really talk about revival where it sparked more in my heart, you know? It wasn't a meeting. Before that, I thought of revival as a meeting, as a worship night, but PCM started talking about revival as a lifestyle, as a supernatural act of God. And so I had to ask him, I was like, hey, you need to mentor me. I just told him, I was like, I would love for you to mentor me. I knew him for 30 minutes, and praise the Lord, he said yes. But, you know, about 2 months, I ended up joining this missions organization called YWAM. 6 months of my life, changed my life completely. But through it all, PCM was still messaging me, checking up on me. And when I came back home after 6 months, man, I just started following him around. He started inviting me. Now, about Josh and Kevin, these guys were literally people that I genuinely looked up to. And I'm not overhyping it or nothing, but Liz told me about Kevin, that there's some guy, really godly man, that's following on PCM and helping him out. I heard about Josh from maybe about 5 different people, about this crazy radical Christian who's going around New Brunswick feeding the homeless, evangelizing. So like, these guys were people I looked up to, and it's a real honor. I get to run with them now. You know, I consider it one of my highest honors, and so
Yeah,
that's how I joined Pursuit.
and now you're our hero. So
Yeah, no, you're
Yeah,
our
Danny's
hero,
my
Danny.
hero.
now you're the Book of Acts.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I mean, I want to say this real quick too to everyone who's listening. Like, you know, everything that we're going after when it comes to revival, and even the things that were on my heart, and when I shared it with everyone here, you know, I want to make it clear, like, it wasn't original. Like this dream of revival wasn't me. I just inherited what God already wanted to do in our region, because like I shared, you know, I grew up hearing about revival. I went to, you know, this church when I was in high school, hearing that revival was going to come to this region. At that time, I was at a Korean church. You know, sadly, it doesn't exist anymore. I mean, that's a different story in itself. But about how revival was going to come to Bergen County, how revival was going to come to this church. It was Korean American, but it was going to become multicultural. And God was just going to move, people sharing visions of, you know, people living in well-off homes in Bergen County, sitting in their 4-car garages, weeping because they achieved everything they thought would bring them happiness and satisfaction, but yet they were so empty, but the presence of God would go and draw them to his presence. I mean, those are the things I grew up hearing. You know, I shared earlier, like I saw people get healed. I saw miracles with my own eyes, and I saw hungry people get radically changed and transformed. I saw bones get healed before, like I saw the craziest things, and the same thing I heard over and over was that revival was going to come. And there were different things that discouraged me or made me feel like that was a pipe dream or hype or whatever, but at the end of the day I couldn't shake the reality that revival was indeed coming, that that's what God had groomed me for. And I believe God has groomed the rest of the guys here with me for that very thing. And so I just want to make it clear, like, we're not going after revival because it's a great idea. We didn't come up with it. It wasn't something we thought would be fun. It's just something that was on the heart of God before any of us were even adults. And he invited us to it. So that's just kind of Pursuit in a nutshell and why we're doing what we're doing.
That's great.
Yeah. What should we do next? Should we ask, are there more questions coming in on YouTube? I mean, there's a couple questions I had earlier.
Yeah.
Instagram, or I don't know how to do this thing.
Maybe you could ask some of the questions we got on IG or.
All right. Shout out to our number one fan who gave us these questions. So I'm gonna read it off my phone. I think we shared a little bit, right? Like, what was the vision behind Pursuit? How did the four of you guys come together? What special, unique quality does each person bring as a leader in Pursuit? I think we kind of shared that by talking about the books, right?
Yeah.
Here's one I think is good. Let me see. Any advice to people who want to dream big but are afraid of failure?
That's a great question.
I mean, I'll share something just because I'm reading this book called Originals. It's not like a Christian book. It's like this like sociology professor at Columbia. But I think, okay, just to start, I feel like for anyone that wants to dream big but they're afraid, I feel like I could speak for most people when, like, who's not afraid? Who's not afraid to go after something that's bigger than them? And I think that's what it takes for it to be something that's actually a vision from God. Because if it was something that we could, conjure up or do ourselves, then it wouldn't be a dream, I feel like, worth chasing, or it wouldn't be something even considered a dream. I think dreams are supposed to be big, and I think sometimes we just have to do it while afraid. And actually, there's a statistic. I mean, this is like from the book, but there's a statistic that says, I think like 33% of people that, I think people that kept their day jobs, right, and were afraid of kind of going all in with their big dream, they were 33% more likely to succeed than those that quit their day jobs and just went all in and were, quote unquote, unafraid, just because they were like higher gamblers. So I feel like it's okay for you to do something afraid. Even like the starters of like Warby Parker, they all had their jobs, before going into it. Like John Legend, he still had his day job, while he was producing music after he released his first album. And so I think for anyone that is afraid, I think for one, like, just do it afraid, do it while you're scared, and just dream big, because it's worth going after. So
that's good. It's real good, bro.
Who wants to go next?
Danny, you got something?
I'll keep mine a little short, but I think for me, before I would care a lot about what other people would say about me or how I was viewed in the eyes of the public, which made me very afraid to take risk, because I was afraid if I fail, if I look stupid. I'm an ENFJ. I'm an Enneagram Type 3 for those who are into that. So my biggest thing, Type 3, is that I care a lot about what people say. That's how they would define me, right? And so I was really like crippled by that. But one thing that set me free, or one thing that kind of broke that paradigm, is when I realized that my life isn't lived, or I'm not supposed to live my life specifically for myself, for my own breakthrough. As weird as it sounds, I realize that my life is an invitation for others to have breakthrough. My life is an invitation for others to encounter God. My life is an invitation for others to go far. And so I think that's the mentality or the heart piece I try to live by, which is why fear is real. Fear is so like super real, but I don't want fear to prevent other people, or I don't want fear to prevent me from impacting, influencing, and giving permission to other people, if that makes sense.
So
And
good.
so that's kind of the personality, mentality, heart posture I try to live by.
That's good. I just
So
want to
good.
say this before I forget. I feel like if we ever do this again, because this might be our first and last one, but I feel like it'll be awesome if we did an episode on fear, around fear. I think that would
Yeah.
be cool. If you guys are watching, if that sounds good, I would say leave hearts if this is Instagram Live, but I don't know what you do on YouTube, but I think that would be a pretty cool subject to revolve one of these around. I think all of us have funny. I have a funny fear story, but I'll share it for you.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I'll share that another time.
Oh yeah, I remember too now.
The bagel story.
Yeah,
That's a good story.
yeah.
That is
Y'all have to wait, or might not even need to wait. So who knows?
Hey, but we
Josh-
do have a question on the YouTube.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys want to stick around on this question or move forward.
Sure.
If
Yeah,
you
let's
guys have
do it.
anything to say. Okay. But Jonathan Jang, shout out to Jonathan. Love you, bro. He said, what
Thank
would
you.
you guys recommend for those that are looking for something more in church? Looking for revival on Sundays, looking for more of the presence of God to move through their churches. How would you guys answer, and what would you guys suggest?
Wait, hold on. Before we answer that, can I answer the previous one?
Yeah, bro.
All right,
Answer
and then we'll
both.
come back to it. All right. What do you do when you're looking? Okay, let me try to answer the previous one about dreams. I think, yeah, like what everyone says, like I think fear is part of the dream process, right? Because I think dreaming is a process. I think naturally there's going to be fear involved. If you're going to do anything that is worthy to be called a dream, there should be fear in it because it's too big for you
that's
to do
good.
it on your own.
That's
So I think that's
quotable.
number one. Yeah. Second thing is I think like as God's people, we were designed to dream. And that's why I think in Proverbs it says what? It says like a hope deferred makes the heart sick, right? And I think when like God's desire for us was to dream. And so if you think about like even in the book of like I don't know, Exodus, when the people are leaving Egypt, right? Like God had to give them a dream of what the promised land could look like because slaves can't dream. And up to 400 years at the point, the Israelites couldn't dream, right? But free people understand how to dream because it's part of their design. It's part of their nature. Like you're meant to enjoy life to the fullest. So
Come on,
I think
bro.
first of all, you have to, like even if you face fear, you have to push through the dream because you're living to your fullest potential. And the third thing is like, I agree totally with Danny. Dreams weren't given for you necessarily. Dreams were given for the breakthrough of others, right? And so that's why I think also like the places in your life you get assaulted the most, attacked the most, is I think the very place that God is calling you to. Because if you have breakthrough for yourself in those areas, then you can release the breakthrough to others. So
that's good.
Dang.
Yeah, I think if you understand the why behind the dream, then it helps you to push past the fear. Yeah, in the dream process.
Yeah, I have a question now. Yo, when's your book on fear, overcoming fear coming out?
Yo, I don't know.
Come on.
When's your book on overcoming fear coming out?
Come on.
Next 2 years. 2 years. 2 years.
2 years.
But, what was the question, Danny? What was the second question?
Yeah, yo, Josh, just real quick. A lot of people on the chat, they're resonating with you, man. But the question was, what would you guys recommend for
It's so weird because we can't see the comments ourselves. You know what I mean? Like I don't know how to react.
You can open up on your phone. That's what I've been doing. I've been cheating every once in a while.
Yeah, I have it on my screen right now.
What would you guys recommend for those that are looking for something more in church? Looking for revival on the Sundays, looking for more of the presence of God to move in their churches?
That's a good question.
Yeah. I mean, I'll just add my 2 cents. It's not really an answer for it, but I think the fear in that, I mean, we're like going back on fear, but I think not fear, but I think the danger in that is that we could easily become disillusioned to our church.
Wow.
And we could blame the church but then it's like blaming our body for not being what we want our body to be, if that makes sense. So I think that's the tension is, what do I do when I'm, wanting more, without growing disillusioned or bitter towards my church? And I think with that is to say that instead of looking for an answer for somewhere else, I think you have to see yourself as part of the solution then to help other people get hungry.
That is good.
I don't know the steps necessarily, but I think it starts with that place. So I just want to start from there, and then you guys can add your answers. But, I've seen so many people leave the church because they're quote unquote not being fed, but once you reach the age of 3, you know how to feed yourself in the natural, right?
Oh, shoot.
Let him know. Let him know.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, 3. This 3, right? So I think, because I just say that because I've seen that happen so many times. They leave the church because they say my pastor isn't feeding me well. I made a decision a long time ago for myself where I wanted to be a Christian that knows how to feed himself.
Come on.
Where I think that's where it has to begin. And I'm not saying that's where Jonathan is at, but I'm just saying this broadly because I've just seen so many people have that excuse or have that mentality and end up becoming disillusioned and bitter. But I think it's because they're thinking the answer lies in someone else when God might be raising them up to be the solution.
That's
good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Let me just kind of just clarify for those who are tuning in. The person that asked this question, he's a hungry man of God, and I don't think he was directly talking about his church necessarily, but I think for him, he's just asking more of a broader sense. People who do have questions like this, and so I just want to clarify for those who are tuning in. Love this man of God, but any of you guys wanna add on to that?
I mean, just on a practical level, I totally agree with everything P. Sam said. I don't think the solution is to leave your church. I think the solution is like what P. Sam said, is to be the answer in your church and stuff like that. And I think the local body church is just so important. And I think it's so easy to think that the grass is greener on the other side and join another church that's already got it going. But man, I've seen so many times people doing that. And I think everyone has their own season and their own reason for like that. But I think we need more people who are willing to dig their own well where they're at and stuff like that. So
That's good.
I would say practically though, I would say, yeah, like stick to your local church. Like, man, there's a reason why God called you there, right? So, and I think in those seasons, God's also teaching you perseverance. God's teaching you how to lead people that don't want to be moved. That's like a huge leadership lesson that you can't learn anywhere else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the second thing also I'll say is like, you can still be part of your local church, but still be connected to a tribe that has what you're looking for. And I think rather than making that tribe your main local church, you use that tribe as your own personal, source to get encouraged, to get, fed and stuff like that. But I've seen it happen the other way around so many times where people switch the other two. So just practically, I would say find that personal tribe and build a relationship with on the side so that it's a support to your life.
Yeah. I want to plug Pursuit as a tribe for anyone who might feel like, anyways.
no, but that is what we do, right? Because for a
Yeah.
monthly gatherings, we want people who are leading other churches and to come and to be fed, to be filled with the Spirit, so that they can go back to their churches and serve at a higher level or whatever.
Yeah.
So
No, for sure. I mean, I just want to jump into like, I mean, that's really our heart at Pursuit. Like, we don't want most people, like that sounds bad, right? Like, we don't want most people like to be a part of us. You know what I mean? Like, don't take it the wrong way, everyone who's watching. Our heart is to empower them, set them on fire, equip them, encourage them to send them back to their local churches. I think a lot of times people have the wrong mentality, maybe because of bad experiences with other parachurches or other regional ministries. But our heart isn't to take other people or whatever. Like, we want to bless your people and then send them back to you to be a bigger blessing. I just want to clarify that for people who are, just so they know our heart.
Yeah, so good, so good.
Kevin, is there anything you wanted to share on that?
No, I mean, I think P. Sam what he said, what he shared first. That's like the two things that came to mind. Just like being able to feed yourself and being part of the solution. But then I think two things is just one, pray, like pray for your church. I think it's just sometimes things that only a move of God can do. And I think, I mean, obviously that's like, the generic obvious answer, but I think just in case, for anyone that misses that and tries to do the other things first.
Yeah.
And then I think another
That's good.
practical one is just kind of look to see which churches are quote unquote, doing it right or whatever, the way that you like or the way that you see, and see if you could learn, whether it's like going through their volunteer program or just maybe attending like their leadership meetings or something like that, and then see if there's things that you could bring back to your church to ignite your church.
Come on. That's so good.
What about for you, Danny? You got anything on that?
I think everything you guys said, I just want to reiterate because I think you guys nailed it, And so we got one question from Priscilla. It's a very casual question, but I think it's good. What is everyone's Enneagram?
9. Is this 9?
Kevin's a 9, Josh is a 4. PCM,
Guess
what are you?
Guess how many fingers? Oh, it's a
4. And I'm a 3.
I mean, I don't know much about it, so I can't really say anything about my Enneagram.
Yeah.
I only care about mine, so.
He lives for the dreams of others, but he only knows about his own Enneagram.
Come on. And 9 is too much to memorize. 1 is good.
Yeah, it's good.
Any other questions that you had, PCM?
Sorry, I'm like laying down because I'm tired. I mean, we've been doing this an hour now.
Wow, it's already been an hour?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
Dang.
do we do a time limit on this? Like, I don't know how to do this thing. Once again, if you guys are watching, this might be our first and last one. But we would love to do something like this. I mean, we've been talking about this for a long time, to just gather in this kind of format to talk. I mean, we were trying to do it as a podcast, but I like it better as a live stream because it's less work in editing the podcast. There's more like real-time interaction. But if you guys are watching, we're not married to any format or name or anything like that. If you have name suggestions, please, right now we just call the Leadership Roundtable. Maybe we should call it Social Distancing X Leadership. I don't know.
It's a good name.
Yeah, but let me see. What other question? Should we do like fun questions for now? Or like...
Yeah.
Hey,
we got a
also,
few more questions. You go ahead.
Yeah, check the YouTube questions, PCM, and see if you want to go with that route too. There's like 2 at the bottom.
Some great questions.
You guys can pick. I'm down for
I'm down for either. I'm down for a fun question or that question or.
All right, favorite cereal. I'm just asking random ones that come to mind.
Favorite cereal. Hands
Frosted
down,
Flakes.
Frosted Flake at 11 o'clock at night.
And what kind of milk do you use? Because I know people
Whole
use
milk,
like...
always.
Yeah.
Whole milk.
Whole milk.
Lactose free.
Yeah, get that
Whole
oat milk
milk.
out of here. Get that oat milk out of my face.
Come on,
Always whole
millennials.
milk.
Lactose free.
Lactose free.
Always.
All right, what other cereals do you guys do?
Cocoa Pebbles.
Oh.
Oh.
Yo, truthfully, I haven't had cereal in years. I'll stick with my kimchi. I'll stick with my kimchi jjigae.
Well, you lagged. I didn't even hear what you said.
Sorry, I'll stick with my kimchi jjigaes. With the,
What about you,
cereal on the
Pitan?
side.
Yo, I had this one cereal that I found when I went to a retreat. It was made by the people who do the Cinnamon Toast Crunch, but it was this French toast one.
Ooh.
I've never heard of
I
that
think
one.
I've seen that.
Yeah, but like I can't find it anywhere else. Like I had it and I was like, yo, this thing's the best cereal I've ever had. So if you guys know where I can find it, let me know. I'll just try to ask more fun random questions before we get to more serious ones, I guess. And then people who are watching, you can answer this too. But does eating kimchi count as eating vegetables for the day? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Um,
Because I don't know what else you would count it as.
For me, I thought it was up until I just thought about it right now. But, but I don't think so. It's just like cabbage, right? It's just like water, so there's no
Mhm.
nutrients in it. It's not like green.
Yeah,
I
but
don't know.
cabbage is a vegetable.
Yeah, but there's no like nutrients. Like
It has probiotics.
Yeah, it has probiotics.
I don't know though.
It
For
has
me,
peppers, right? Red peppers, dry.
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, I must say yes because then some days then I don't eat vegetables, especially during this quarantine. It's
That's
hard
true.
to it's hard to go find fresh vegetables in this
It's
time. Like,
true.
Yeah,
know?
what have you been eating?
no, I'm like just Korean food.
For
Fried
real?
rice is nice. I mean, you guys can follow me on TikTok and Instagram. I've been cooking more.
TikTok.
Right? Yeah, should we do that dance on this IG live or this YouTube? Right? I can't because I'm holding up my laptop. But
Yo, Daniel said kimchi is a vegetable because kimchi is cabbage with peppers, garlics, and onions.
come on, somebody.
That is a great answer, bro. Much love.
How
You
But
do
I
need
you
also
do it?
ingredients.
heard-
That's it.
I also heard from a doctor that Koreans are 4 more times likely to get stomach cancer because of kimchi or something
No
like
way.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know how true it is, but a doctor told me that. So
I mean, I know
Wow.
statistically Koreans get stomach cancer the most,
yeah, we
Oh,
get stomach
really?
cancer the most.
but I
Yeah.
refuse. That's a lie from the enemy.
Maybe because we also eat so many fermented stuff like tenjang, like soybean
Oh, yeah.
paste. Yeah, like
Everything's fermented.
everything's
Yeah.
fermented. Yeah.
I'm gonna blame it on Han.
What's Han?
Let's not go down that road. But anyways, let's answer questions from YouTube.
Let's answer questions. Yo, this is a real good question. Kiki Johnson asked this question: what is revival? But I want to ask a follow-up question to that based off of Chris Kwan. Shout out to Chris Kwan. What is revival, and do you believe revival starts with honest, raw confession, like the Pyongyang revival? And if so, how can that be overcome in the shame-based culture we are part of?
Those are
So maybe
loaded
we could-
questions.
It's a good question. Maybe we can start
Yeah.
off with the first one. What is revival?
What is revival? I mean, that's a loaded question too.
Yeah.
You know,
We don't have a. Do we have a time limit on like this live thing? 'Cause maybe it could be episode 2.
yeah. Or until my laptop battery dies. Like, I mean, I'm not going anywhere.
Hey, how about this
That's
then?
cool.
How about we answer that question in 2 sentences or less? In the
What is
best we can.
revival?
Yeah.
Too
And
hard.
then maybe we could do an episode 2 just purely based on revival.
Yeah, and fear. Don't forget my
And
fear.
fear.
Yeah,
Oh, we got 3 episodes already.
yeah. Potentially, this is the pilot. We might not get picked up for a full season.
It's like The Office.
Yeah, I could start, and then you guys can add, chime in,
Yeah.
agree. I mean, whatever. I think for me, I like defining revival. I mean, I think this is such a good question because this is a question that, you know, I would start as a team. We wrestle with it a lot, actually.
Mhm.
Like we always ask ourselves this, and we always try to wrestle with it. And I think it's partly because it's kind of like beyond what we can manufacture or perform and do on ourselves. Like I would start there. I think revival has to be a divine move of God. And I think that's why it's hard to define, you know, down to the nitty gritty, because it's not something we could do on our own. It's not something we could make happen. You know, at least the revival, the way that we try to define it, we can't make it happen. We can't perform for it. So I think it has to be a divine supernatural move of God. And I feel like it encompasses, you know, awakening of the church, harvest of the lost, and then transformation of culture and society. I think those are the fruit, but how, I think it's always up to God. I think every
Yeah.
revival has similar ingredients. You know, a plug for the Bible reading we're doing. Kevin wrote a nice devotional today about how you could have all the ingredients of a cake, but that doesn't mean you have a cake. you know, like there's a process and steps. So I feel like every revival has had similar ingredients, but the process will always look different because of how God wants to move. So I mean, that's what I would want to say in terms of revival, and you guys could, you know, add to that. I would love to hear everyone too.
Yeah.
Kind of as a foundation, jumping point for us.
Yeah. Danny, you want to break those three things down that he said, like the fruits of revival, or like just so that like people can get a better understanding of like what does those three things mean, or what could it look like?
For sure. So when we say revival could look like, it's three parts. Is number one, the awakening of the saints, the awakening of the church. What that means is that there is just such a real hunger, a spiritual hunger for God, where complacency no longer has a hold of you, where compromise no longer has a hold of you, where secret sin no longer has a hold of you, where you won't just I know we say this often, where you won't just go to church to fulfill a religious duty, but there is this spiritual hunger and awakening inside of you where you just want God and all of God. So there's this awakening of the church that starts it. From that place, people are gripped with the reality of eternity, heaven and hell. They know they can't keep it to themselves. They know that other people need to hear about this. So they have this desire in their hearts to reach out to the lost, to reach out to those who don't know Jesus. It's just this gripping conviction in the heart. So that's why we say the harvest of the lost is when the church starts going out. And so the church goes out, the gospel is spread. And from that place where people are now coming to know the Lord, people are giving their lives to God. From that place is when there's a transformation of culture and society, where there is kingdom principle, kingdom culture has now invaded that region, that country. And I know we talked about shame-based culture, but for example, kingdom culture came where shame-based culture no longer has a hold. So that's what we're talking about, transformation of society, transformation of culture. If you're interested in something like that, I want to recommend digging into what's called the 7 spheres of influence, is what they call the 7 spheres, 7 areas that has the majority of a hold of our life. So government, business, entertainment, different things like that. And so in the simplest form, that's how I would define it.
Yeah. And I think, like, just to kind of go back to pursuit and our vision of revival, where we come into play with this, it's just like, man, with our monthly gatherings, we just want to invite people to just intercede on behalf of our region and just to fill people up with, you know, and get back into right relationship with God. Because, man, if we can just get more people awakened, if we can get more people in a right relationship with God, then, you know, God just promises, right? If my people turn to me, you know, I'm going to pour out my spirit upon them. And so that's why we're trying to gather people and mobilize and be a support to the local churches, not because like we want more people to come to our gathering and it looks great for our ministry, but because the more people come and seek after God, God is surely going to respond to the hearts of his people. And boom, like PCM said, like boom, it's his move. It's a divine move where he like pours out his spirit, and from there it just like spreads like wildfire, and we're going out to, you know, the harvest, the loss and stuff like that. So that's where our kind of vision comes into play. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's how I'm understanding it as part of the team.
Come on, man. That's so good. Anything you want to chime in, Kevin?
Oh yeah, Kevin, you want to chime in anything?
Oh yeah, I mean, just to answer the questions really simply, I think it's just, you know, dead people coming alive, and I think just that fire spreading to everyone that they know, everyone that they encounter. So I think that's the way that I see revival, and it could look, you know, something crazy radical, like an event that happens that starts that, or it could just be, I don't know, that everyone, because of a move of God, that people all over the world in different regions, they just start being more aware of the presence of God, and all the, you know, saints and believers are moved, just I guess like in the same like time frame. But I think in terms of like the confession, like does that start revival? I think it's like what PCM said. It's who knows, like what, there's no like formula to it. Like we don't know if there was a formula to it. I feel like there would have been many revivals like already, but I think repentance is part of it. Sure. But I think it starts with the presence of God that, you know, moves us to repentance. I don't think it's a man-made thing where we tell everyone to confess so revival can come.
Yeah,
I think it's just
it's really good.
if God moves. in that way. So
Can you imagine if we did that? If we forced everyone to confess.
yeah.
So repent
Pass
On the
mic around.
microphone. On the
on the
microphone.
micro.
Share your deepest, darkest sin.
Yeah.
But I think that's good. I think even repentance, it has to be God. You know, like Kevin said, it's His kindness that leads us to repentance. I feel like I'm learning things. I feel like my understanding, what am I saying? Understanding? What's wrong with me? Even my understanding is broadening and deepening even through this. So I'm being encouraged too from this.
Yeah.
If I can ask a question for you guys, I feel like some viewers can be like listening in and they can be like, why do we need revival? Like, don't we have enough churches in the region? Like, aren't we like all just doing our Sunday routine or just our normal Christian life and stuff like that? Like, why is revival so important? Like, why is it important that we gather once a month to just cry out for revival in our region?
Wow, great question.
Yeah, that's so great. Someone else want to answer it? I need to think. More. I wanna process it a little bit. Why do we need revival?
Why not?
Shout out Russell Westbrook.
Westbrook.
So someone send him this link. He's in quarantine. He's not doing anything. I think about this, right? I think the reason why we need revival is I think everyone is doing their part. Everyone is being faithful to what they can. But I think we need revival because it shows what God can do. I think one story I can share that will help show why we need revival. I've shared it multiple times at our events. I think I even shared it this week on IG Live or whatever. But I love the story of the Fulton Street revival in downtown Manhattan, where revival broke loose through a prayer meeting of businessmen, where over 10,000 people prayed every day from noon to 1 p.m. But I mean, this statistic is what grips me and makes me dream for more and long for revival, because at the peak of this revival, at the peak of this move of God, 50,000 people were being saved every single week.
Wow.
It's not in the last century. It's not in the last decade. It's not even, over the year, but 50,000 people are being saved every single week. I think that's why we need revival, because we need God to accelerate what only God can do. I hope I'm making sense.
That's good.
I feel like that's why we need revival, because we can't do anything on our own. And I think, especially in a time like this with the pandemic, it shows just how limited we are, just how frail we are, and we need something that only God can do. And I think with revival, it makes me dream of what is possible if you look from heaven's perspective. If Jesus is our master, if he's our savior, if he's our Lord, if he's the one who we're following, let's say we're not even trying to go after revival. Let's say we're just trying to live our life that looks like Jesus, then we fall so short too, And I think that makes us long for what only God can do. Yeah, that's what's on my heart to share for that, at least for this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to answer it the best I could. But why do we need revival? And I think it's because in the very heart of God, I think that's what he longs for. And hear me out, it's because he longs for people to genuinely know him. He longs for people to really deeply know him. And if we're being honest, this is not coming from a place of judgment or condemnation. But if we're being honest, I would say if you look at the American church today, people know of him, but do people genuinely know him? And is the American church gripped with this longing of God? And if it isn't, then we've fallen short. If it isn't, then something's not aligned. And so I genuinely believe that if you yourself know God, there is no way his longing won't become your longing. Like your heart's longing automatically becomes his. And so he longs for his children to know him. He longs for the children that have never heard the gospel to hear the gospel. He longs for people who have never had hope to find hope. He longs for the transformation of society. Like, look around. Why is it that there's so many churches, but yet crime rate's still at an all-time high? Abortion still at an all-time high. And so I say all that because that's why we need revival. It's not enough
It's
for
good.
us to just have a personal relationship with God. I know that sounds controversial, but I feel like it can't stop there. Once you know God, your heart's longing becomes of that his longing, you know? And
Yeah.
so that's why we do need revival.
Good.
That's good.
I think for me, it's I guess for me, what my heart is more focused towards is just that there's lost people, and I think that's simply why we need revival, because you know we can do all that we can, you know, to go out and pray for people, pray for healing, share the gospel, share, you know, encounters with God, you know, to these people, but the four of us cannot reach, you know, like the entire, even Bergen County, you know what I mean? Like, so I think there's people just like thinking like your coworkers, like your family members, even people inside your church. And I think there's people that don't know God, and their lives would be so different if they did. And I think that's what fuels me to pray for revival, because we need every single, you know, believer on board. We need every single Christian to live like a Christian, you know, for the Great Commission to happen, you know, to really be disciples of all nations. And I think that's why we need revival.
Come on.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just learned a lot myself right now. Damn.
Yeah. When Kevin, what you just shared reminds me of this quote. I'm not sure who said it. It might be Spurgeon, maybe. I don't remember. But it's every believer a missionary, and everywhere they go, the mission field.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come
I think it was
on.
him. If not, you could credit me. I'm just kidding.
That's good.
What about you,
Yeah.
Josh? We'd love to know your thoughts.
Man, honestly, I think like I agree with everything you guys said. Like just bits and pieces of everything you guys said. Like there's no church right now that can do it all, right? There's no church, no matter how much money they have, no matter how great of a pastor preaches, how great community is. It's like all church will never, not a single church will be able to bring a harvest of the lost. And I think it literally requires the presence of God to touch every single heart, to make them aware of who He is and how they need to get right with them. So I think that's why we need a revival, because not one single church is going to just be able to do it on its own. It's going to require us partnering with the divine move of God when God says, now it's time, so and I kind of like, I really agree with what Danny says. Like, man, if Christianity and the gospel is the most powerful thing that as we declare it to be, but culture and society is still not fully restored and redeemed, like we need a revival, because there's just evidence all around us that the gospel hasn't fully developed yet. In that sense.
Come on.
I hope that makes sense.
That's
It
good.
does.
I think what everyone shared is good. I feel like another reason why we need revival, and I feel like can be used to sum up what all of us said, like we need revival because there's more. Like there must be more, right? This can't be it. Like there must be more. There is more. And I feel like that's part of what keeps us going too. Like there must be more than this. There is more than this, and makes us go after it. So I mean, we're approaching like 90 minutes of doing this thing. I mean, I feel like we could talk about revival. What is revival? Why we need revival, like all the time, But I don't know how to transition this thing, or how much longer we should go. I feel like a lot of people are still watching,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Is there any other like good questions? Is there any other good questions on YouTube?
Yeah, there's actually some books question, and maybe that could be a good segue for us to close. Totally up to you guys.
Yeah.
But we got a few questions from Edith as well as Christine Go. This is a question for Josh from Edith. How do you read so many books? And then as a follow-up, this is for the team. What books do you guys recommend reading? Christian reading / devotionals.
Gotcha. I don't know. Does anyone want to answer that thing first? How do you read so much? Because we all read here.
But you read the
No,
most.
but she said how do you read so much.
Yeah, Jehoshua specifically.
To be honest, Kindle really helps because honestly, I read whenever I can, and I'll literally pull out my phone at the grocery line while I'm waiting for my car to get engine oil or whatever. Like I'll just be reading all the time. So Kindle really helps a lot in that sense. But in order to read a lot, you actually have to make time. Like I think like that's what I learned the most. You just don't make it, just doesn't happen. Like you have to make it happen. And so I'll literally set up blocks of time where all I'm gonna do is read like an hour at a time or something like that. And it does, by saying yes to reading, you're saying no to a lot of things. So I don't really watch that many shows anymore as I used to and stuff like that. I read this pretty interesting quote. Supposedly an average American reads about 200 to 400 words per minute, meaning that at that pace, every American should be able to read 200 books in about 400 hours.
Dang.
But the amount of time that we spend on social media on average is about 700 hours. In a year. 700 hours in a year. Yeah. So I think it's just honestly just a matter of making it a priority, making a goal, and just finding time to do it. There's no other way. So I'll wake up in the morning, do my quiet time, read an hour in the morning, and then at night before I go to bed, I try to read like an hour and a half each time. So yeah.
That's discipline right there, bro.
Yeah. 2 books I can recommend right now. I just finished up a book today. It's called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. Read it. It's a great book about how our fast-paced world, social media, technology has really messed up our soul, and that it's really developed our faith to be unstable, to not be deep, to be very shallow. And so it talks about how in order to be a disciple of Jesus, you actually need to slow down. So I think that's really appropriate. And then just kind of transitioning from what we talked about from before about revival, I think every one of our team members would suggest the Revival of the Hebrides. It gives a in-depth look about what God did in the Scottish Islands. So those are the 2 books I'll recommend.
Come on.
Nice. I'll recommend a devotional. It's one that we've done as a team, and I think all of us have done multiple times as well. But it's Draw the Circle by Mark Batterson. I just remember now I was gonna tune into his IG live that he was gonna do tonight, but I forgot to because I was trying to figure out how to set this up online. But that's a great devotional, 40-day, really inspiring, powerful stories about prayer, and it just helps deepen your prayer life in a really accessible and practical way. And I think he's like leading everyone to do it like 40 days after Easter on his Instagram. So you guys, I think this is the perfect time to pick that thing up. But Draw the Circle by Mark Batterson is a really powerful devotional. We've all done it, and that's a good one.
What about you, Kevin?
I mean, I'm reading like a sociology book, but I would say I'm going through like the Ideal Team Player again, and that's not necessarily like about like Christian devotional or anything like that, but the author is Christian, Pat Lencioni, and I guess it's more geared towards like a team setting, and I think it'd be good for everyone to read, just because everyone's going to be part of a team, whether you're in ministry, whether you're at work, or whether you're in school. And so the Ideal Team Player, I would recommend that book, and I would second the 40-day Draw the Circle book that PCM just talked about by Mark Batterson.
Yeah. For me, devotional, I think that's my all-time favorite, Draw the Circle. And so definitely get your hands on that. 2 books I do want to suggest in terms of Christian books. Number 1 is called Anonymous by Alicia Bricole, one of my all-time favorites. It's talking about Jesus's 30 years hidden and why hiddenness is actually a gift from God. And God's greatest work sometimes happens in our hidden years. And so get your hands on that book, Anonymous by Alicia Bricole. And I love history. If anyone loves history and wants to know more about individuals in revival, get a copy of God's General by Robert Liardon. Read it as a history book and not a theology book, and I think it'll help. If that makes sense. No, I mean it. Don't read it as the word of God, but read it as kind of describing history. And if you do it like that, you won't be offended, and you'll be able to pick up a lot of the good materials.
Yeah. That was a great question. That was fun.
Yeah. It was.
This whole night was fun.
It was.
Yeah. I mean, we could discuss this afterwards, but we could just discuss it now. But should we do this every Saturday? I mean, I don't have any Saturday plans on Saturdays for a long time. All my speaking engagements are canceled. My retreats are canceled. My mission trips are canceled.
Mm.
I don't know. We could figure it out, but
Yeah,
let
we can
us
figure it out.
know for those of you guys who are watching. When would be a good time for us to do this? I mean, we've been going on Instagram Live every night, and I felt like Saturday night would be pretty cool for us to do this on a weekly basis as a team,
Yeah.
something like that. But let us know, guys, those who are watching, what works best for you. And I mean, we're doing this to serve you guys above all, and wanted to give some hope and encouragement and some laughter and yeah.
This was fun though. This was really
This
fun.
was fun.
It was fun.
Some
Yeah.
great
Yeah.
questions. Mm.
So
Huh. Well, we could go to typical Christian route and close off in prayer. We could go. We could go. Some comments on YouTube. Josh, I like your beard.
Thanks, man. I've been growing it out since January. Trimmed it once, but trying to grow it
Wow.
until COVID ends. So, yeah. PCM, you have any idea what you want to do next? Or
I mean-
I have an idea.
Yeah, I mean, I still have other questions. I think we could always save them for if we ever do this again. What's
I
your
think we're
idea?
gonna do this again. I think
Yeah, we should.
I think we're gonna do this again. But I thought that maybe we can end by just prophesying for people who are watching in. Not necessarily that we have to like target one person, but maybe we can just do like a general prophecy, and whoever receives it,
Like words of knowledge?
whoever, yeah, just words of knowledge, and whoever resonates with it, and they'll receive it over
Yeah.
All right.
that's good.
the web.
Oh shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is how I get ready to get words. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. That's not what I do.
You're gonna do this.
Mm.
What do you guys think? You guys like that idea or no?
I love it. I
I
love
was
Yeah.
already going
I mean, I
into
would
it
love
right
to
now.
do one episode where we just talk about the prophetic.
it. Mm.
Oh, yeah.
We could give stories of the prophetic impacting us. We could talk about stories of us. I mean, me and Danny did one already on IG Live, but I feel like this format allows Instagram not to cut us off.
Yeah.
That's true.
And really give words to people. I think it'll be fun for all four of us to do it too. I think
Yeah.
we might do like 5 hours then. We might just do like a 12-hour burn session or something if we do that. But
Oh, please no.
yeah. Yeah. There's a reason why we're not a house of prayer. Just kidding.
Yeah.
All right, words of knowledge.
Thank you, Lord.
Thank you, Lord.
Yeah, I mean, I got one already. I guess this is really broad, but let me just pray into it and see if it develops. But I feel like there's someone that's watching that is just really deep into comparison. I think even in this moment right now. And I just want to encourage you and just say that God made you in his image, in the way that he wanted to make you. And there are things that about you that you haven't even discovered yet. And so, don't stop pursuing after God. And because you're comparing that your life doesn't look like someone else's, or that God's not moving in your life like someone else's. And I just want to, encourage you to just keep going. That God loves you. He made you in the way that he viewed you, in the way that he designed you articulately and specifically. And so just don't compare and keep going.
Yeah, amen.
Amen.
I
Amen.
mean, if people who are watching, if that's you and you don't mind sharing with everyone who's watching, feel free to leave a comment. If not, you can message us, you can DM us. We just want to know, if it was for someone, we want to continue praying for you, and
Yeah.
so we would love feedback. I have a very specific one that I got. and I don't know if anyone will have it, or maybe someone who will watch it a week from now will have it. But I saw a picture um, of someone doing like a DIY thing or some repair at home, and I saw them like hammering, but then injuring their hand in the process. I just want to speak healing to any finger or injury from repair or DIY or whatever was happening. If someone is watching that hurt themselves like that, I'm taking a step of faith. And I just want to pray for healing, for all pain to be gone, and full recovery sooner than you even thought was possible.
Wow.
In
Come
Jesus'
on.
name, amen.
Amen. I got one regarding families. And just what I'm feeling in my spirit is that I think ever since this quarantine happened, there might have been tension in your family. Um, I think you were very hopeful for breakthrough. Maybe there were some promises that you got about breakthrough in your family, but ever since this quarantine happened, it seems like the opposite. And I actually want to encourage you because what I feel in my spirit is that God is reminding you that He's the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He's a restorer of families. And He wants to reconcile the parents to the children to the parents. And so I'm just reminded of Acts 16. I'm reminded that Paul and Silas, they pray and praised, and then the prison doors opened, which led to a salvation of families. And so hopefully that encourages you if that is you and you're believing for breakthrough in your family, but there's been tension ever since. I want to encourage that the Lord sees you, that He's still moving, not to give up hope, interceding on behalf of your family. And I got one more. If your
You could
birthday
you could have
happened,
10 more.
I just got one more.
Okay.
I'm not that prophetic right now. If your birthday happened to fall during this quarantine and you feel like it was a loss, like you feel like you weren't celebrated, or you feel like this year was a loss, off to a bad start, I feel in my heart that what God is going to do, He is going to redeem this year to be your best year yet.
Amen.
I feel in my heart that it is not a loss, but you're going to gain so much more. I feel in my heart that this is a year where you're not alone, where your life, even though no one may have celebrated it, I feel like the Lord is saying your life is worth celebrating. And so if that is you, I would love to know. I would love to keep praying for you. And so hope that encourages you.
Is
That's
that
good.
for you, Manny?
No, I got really celebrated.
Okay.
I was loved.
For me, I got an image of God with a stone in His hand, and it seems like the stone was like really rough in the beginning, but God has really smooth and sanded it out, so it's like a really smooth, circular, nice stone. I feel like God just skipping it across the lake, and I saw it bounce 12 times. So I just feel like if your favorite number is 12, I don't know. I feel like I'm just trying to, yeah, whatever, right? Yeah, 12 favorite number. But I just feel like maybe you've been through a rough season where you're kind of wondering why circumstances were what they were. And you kind of felt like, God, are you with me? Are you not with me? And I just want to encourage you that God is a God of the process.
Come
And
on.
He's just been refining you. He's just been smoothing you out so that you can be the perfect stone in His hand for whatever moment comes where He needs to release you. So I just want to encourage you with that. And the second thing is, like, I just feel like if there's any viewers here, and your mom has COVID, I just want to release healing over your mom right now.
Yes.
Just pray for her. Yeah. So Father, we thank you that you are the divine healer. We thank you that Jesus purchased healing for us on the cross.
Yes.
So God, tomorrow I just declare on Easter Sunday that there will be major improvements in their lungs, in their fever.
Yes, Lord.
Yeah, God, whatever other symptoms. I just pray that there will be a significant amount of healing that takes place where we can only know it's because of you. And so, Lord, we just say that the blood of the Lamb covers her at this very moment. And so we thank you. We love you. We honor you. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
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 No, this was good. This was fun. Did anyone leave comments like, "Oh, that word was for me"?
Uh-uh.
Okay, we're learning. We're practicing. But yeah, I hope this was fun for everyone watching. I mean, I had fun. I feel like this was a great way for me to see everyone on the team and for us to just hang out and, learn ourselves too. I learned a lot. My understanding has deepened, and give us feedback on this, people who are watching. You know, yeah, and Sunday's coming. Easter's tomorrow.
Come on.
And we hope everyone has an amazing Easter Sunday.
Yeah.
Sunday's coming. And yeah, anyone want to leave final remarks?
Nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
See ya.
Yeah. See ya. This is a pilot. But much love, y'all. Good seeing you guys. Kevin, Danny, Josh, and goodbye, everyone. And for now, tentatively, we'll do this every Saturday.
Every Saturday.
Ish. Josh, when are you coming back?
I'm coming back next Saturday. I land at actually maybe next Saturday won't be good then because I'll be landing around 8 o'clock at night.
Okay.
Yeah. Or maybe I can just get right on my phone and just do it on my ride back.
Yeah. Maybe we could do an interview about what the flying process was like during a
Maybe.
pandemic.
Actually, I'm curious.
Maybe.
So.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a real-time Q&A from a man who does a cross-country flight. And,
Yeah. In the midst of a pandemic.
Yeah, but anyways, much love to you guys of Pursue. Much love to everyone who watch.
Yeah.
Will watch. And yeah, stay tuned for more stuff. Follow us on our Instagram at Pursue NYC. We have a bunch of different content and IG lives coming this week. Schedule is still being worked out, but we have people pretty much every day of the week again. And
Nice.
then Thursday we have the regional prayer Zoom meeting, where you could join on the Zoom or you could watch on YouTube as well. But we just are trying to give people hope during this time in quarantine and encourage people and to contend. And one plug that I really want to give before we wrap up, I feel like next Friday's Instagram Live is going to be really good. It's with a marriage and family counselor named Michelle Park. And we're going to do it on relationships. So everyone who is, everyone's curious, right?
I'm curious.
Yeah, whether you're single, in a relationship, dating, married, I feel like everyone cares. So I think that's going to be really fun and good. But
Come on.
much love, and let us know feedback. Let us know testimonies. And I'm going to end this thing now.
Peace,
All right,
y'all.
peace out, guys.
Thanks for
It was
tuning in.
fun.